Imagine Science Film Festival. We are hours away from the festival beginning here at the Art Center at NYU Abu Dhabi. The festival was founded with the mission of promoting a high level of dialogue between scientists and filmmakers and artists. And with that in mind, I have with me 6 of the international guest artists that are showing their work at the Survival exhibition that happens in tandem with our film festival this weekend. If you want to see them in person, the dates for the festival are today, January 30th, through February 2nd. So a long weekend. We'll be having gallery talks, screenings, and panel discussions. So with that, I'd like to introduce the first artist, Franz Milec. He's from Slovakia, now living in Prague. You say you aim to bring film into the 21st century by developing open source tools and using open data and imagery, and you work across media. And can you describe kind of what your artistic practice is like, what medium you work in?
Yeah, so the area that I'm interested in is this sort of intersection of film and data visualization, and the output of that is presented in multiple media, so mostly film, but sometimes also generative art and VR, for example. And I think film has a lot in common with data visualization, and I'm trying to figure out the process that could be used to kind of connect those two fields.
So can you speak a little bit about, you have an exhibition piece, but you've also we've shown your films before on other festivals, but could you speak about The End Is Near, which is your exhibition piece, which is showing until February 9th here in Abu Dhabi, but you'll be here till February 2nd.
Yeah, so The End Is Near is a generative artwork I made back in 2016. I think it was a very tough year for Europe in terms of terrorist attacks and the first wave of fake news, I would say. And basically what the artwork does is it scans Twitter for apocalyptic messages, and then it geolocates the users that posted these messages, and it displays this location in this sort of apocalyptic way. And yeah, I'm very interested in how contemporary media shape the way we look at the world, and I think this sort of feeling of being overwhelmed by messages that pop up everywhere about the end of the world coming is a feeling that I was trying to capture with the artwork.
And is there any medium that you're working in sort of next up in the future?
Well, there are multiple. I'm currently finishing a VR piece about a data specialist who worked for Facebook. And there's a film I'm currently working on that's going to connect like this field of cognitive science and religion.
Great. All right, so thanks so much. And you'll be doing gallery talk and also at the whole festival. So.
Thank you.
So next up we have Emily Tikka, who's an animator from London. So you look to the natural world and you use analog techniques and mark-making techniques to create both print and moving image. Can you just tell me about your background and what your artistic practice is?
Yeah, sure. So my background is in photography. So when I started animating, I was really interested to use natural textures and use photographs, specifically analog 35mm photographs, and reincorporate them into animations. So when I started doing animation, I started to draw, but use the photographs to create colours and textures to portray a lot of macro actually in the natural world.
Yeah, I would say looking at the art, it's not clear how you're making it. It's a bit of a mystery. So
yeah, a lot of people say that. Yeah.
So you have both a film in the film festival and a piece in the exhibition. Do you want to talk about the film?
Sure, yeah.
That you have?
Yeah, so it's called Attraction, and it focuses on insects. And I was trying to imagine the way that an insect would feel as it entered a flower, or it went to find pollen, and as it searches, and how the relationship is between the flowers, and how they have these beautiful textures to attract the insects to them.
So one thing to note is that you're going to be doing a gallery talk
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a little bit of a performance going during that gallery tour, so that's something. That's this Saturday, February 2nd?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there might be multiple projections.
Yes, could be, maybe. All right, thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
So the next artist is Amelia Tikka. She is from Finland and currently based in Berlin. You're part of the first residency that has to do with CRISPR. So you're working directly with scientists right now. So could you just describe just your background and maybe just a little bit about what that residency is about?
Yeah, so my background is in design. What I do is not the classical design, it is very conceptual and speculative design. So I work in the intersection of synthetic biology and speculative storytelling. So what I try to do is to develop a new storytelling method combining humanities, natural sciences and speculative design to sort of approach the question of the biotechnologies and future scenarios.
So you're working in both film, but you create installations.
Yeah, exactly. My media varies from objects, film, pictures.
Can you describe the origin of the piece that is in the art exhibition? There's a story behind it.
Yeah. Eudaimonia, it is actually Greek and means happiness. So eudaimonia is about this novel gene editing technology, CRISPR-Cas9, which enables us to edit also genes of humans. And my work deals with the idea of psychological enhancement. So what if we could edit those genes that form our identity, our personality? And my work deals a lot with the phantasma of optimization in this. What I try to do is to develop a sort of a new narrative that is beyond this transhuman optimizing, making better story. And that's what the work is about. It is a short film, sort of a narrative story, and speculative objects.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to speak at all about the object, or is it best to just?
I mean, the object is basically, it is speculative design. So what you try to do is to imagine how this technology would enter our lives as a consumer product. So as usually technology is sold to us, as a desirable object. So it is a sort of a critical design object, illustrating like possible future gene editing device as a consumer product.
Okay. Very interesting. And last thing, are you speaking a lot with the researchers during this residency, and are the researchers thinking along these lines of ethics, and do you find they're doing that, or are you posing any questions to them?
Yeah, of course they think about it, but I feel like my presence is really pushing them a bit further into thinking about these questions, I would say. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So, January 30th. Okay. So next up is Marlene Vander. You focus on neuroscience right now in your films, and I know there's a reason behind that that you've mentioned. Could you just describe what makes you turn to neuroscience as a filmmaker?
Yeah, I think we both have a lot in common actually, because we try to answer fundamental questions about how we perceive the world around us and how it works. And for me, film and art is a tool to actually embody other people's reality. And there's a big connection for me with science, because they are also searching for answers in the same way as I do.
Yeah.
So I'm very inspired by what they pose and how they find answers and collaborate with them.
So you have a film in the film festival that you made first, and then you've just made a new work for the exhibition space. And how are those related? How did the first film come about, and then how was the second work related to the first film?
Yeah.
You get to see them both at this festival.
Yeah, so the first film is called The Prediction Machine, and it was an invitation actually by university and the film festival to me for Floris de Lange. He's a researcher and professor, and he researches perception, same as I do. And they asked us to collaborate, and that I would make a piece about his work. And he's very much focused on how we make predictions and how we actually perceive reality. And through his work and the film, I discovered actually that everything we see, we always base it on everything we've seen before. Mm-hmm. So based on that idea, I made a very intimate piece, pretty personal also. It's a piece with my grandmother, mm-hmm. who actually passed away half a year ago, so not long after making the film. And it's a piece about embodying being old and mm-hmm. actually realizing that all the memories that you base all your ideas on fade in a way, and that our body decays, but our mind still has the feeling that it's the same. Mm-hmm. So this realization and trying to embody that feeling, that's really interesting. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So next, I'd love to hear from Liam Young. Liam Young is described as an urbanist, designer, futurist. I've heard the term speculative architect, which is really interesting. You're also the founder of the futures think tank, Tomorrow's Thoughts Today. And you have a lot of other projects. So could you just describe your artistic practice and your various projects?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm trained as an architect, but I don't design buildings mm-hmm. in any traditional form anymore. And what I really do now is just tell stories about the global, urban, or architectural implications of new technologies. So in futures or science fiction, there's a really overused quote from the author William Gibson, who says that the future's already here, it's just not evenly distributed. And I guess with my practice, I'm interested in taking that quite literally. And what does it mean to get on a plane, to travel around the world to a strange pocket of mm-hmm. a future in a present tense, to document it, to record it, to exaggerate it and extrapolate it, and to spin it into a new scenario. And I guess that's what I do, is kind of amplify the weak signals of possible futures and make films about them, or do performances, or tell stories, and try to disseminate some of these sites of possible futures and some of these trends to audiences that maybe haven't encountered them yet.
So what sorts of collaborators are you working with? It's very cross-disciplinary, so I want to point out sort of the type of people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm interested in doing is working with a technology that is most urgent, or working with a technology at a point where it's just about to become accessible. That's kind of the sweet spot where it's both broad enough and known enough for it to be discussed, but it's also near enough that we can start to sense some of the possibilities about where it might go. So a lot of the times in the films that we make, we literally work with these technologies, and that means bringing on collaborators that are from these disciplines, and we form a little pop-up studio for the length of a project and then disperse again. So it's enabled me to make films around drone technologies and work with pilots and aerodynamicists and creative coders, but at the same time I can do a project about driverless cars and LiDAR scanning, or I can do a project about outsourcing, or I can do a project about large-scale cultural movements in global cities, or the supply chains of technologies. So it's really critical to the process of how we work to really operate across the network and bring people from a whole range of different disciplines together to really ground the speculative stories in the realities of science and research mm-hmm. and technology.
So could you speak to the film that is in the film festival, and there's also an exhibition piece, so two different works that you're showing in the festival?
Sure, so in the festival we're screening a new film called Soul City Machine, which is an exploration of what it means for cities to become entirely governed by smart technologies, algorithms. What we're seeing is a moment where cities are changing, the power structures of cities are changing. So cities were once managed by democratically elected governments are now being outsourced to management systems owned by Cisco systems or Microsoft, being managed by algorithms that aren't accountable to a public them, but accountable to shareholders. I was interested in what a citizen's interface is with this new form of governance. So we built a bot that would be trained on management systems and processing systems, and we derived script from interactions with chatbot. And the film is a love from this city operating system the citizens manage. And the entire script developed from that coding process, that interaction. And then the project we have here in the edition is another film, The City Can't See, and it's looking at a similar theme around smart city technologies, but particularly focusing on the implications of new technology surveillance. So we developed a film which is telling a story of this future smart city of Detroit through the lens of a driverless car. And the film is made using light scanning technology, which is a laser scanning tech driverless cars used to see and navigate the world. So we're literally seeing that city through the eyes of the taxi. And what we see is a group of citizens of that city across the course of one night on their way to an illegal rave party. And they've developed a whole series of camouflage tactics, and we've designed textiles to reflect the light of laser scanners, driverless car systems, vocabulary movements, describe portions so that body detection couldn't read. And all camouflage come together to help this kids evade the surveillance networks of to a party. Kids do to party, not seen with the eyes, see that for all purposes, see everything.
Well, thank you so much. So you're speaking in the last second, you have a gallery followed by a screening called Mental City, and then your panel is after that.
Cool.
So thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
So again, we're at the dinner at Abu Dhabi, and we have screening, gallery talk, panel discussions, and space. And, I